I had about 45 minutes left, I think. I had to stop to go to a bunch of meetings for work. And I was like, Clint, I love this movie. What's going on here?
For a long time, Mortal Kombat's 1995 live-action movie set the bar as far as video game to movie adaptations go. Now, to be totally fair, that bar was set at a high school track and field level at best, and within the last 10 years has been cleared with relative ease by the likes of Detective Pikachu, all of the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and the first Illumination Super Mario Bros. Movie. But that's beside the point. The fact is, 1995's Mortal Kombat understood what fans wanted out of a Mortal Kombat movie. Great martial arts action, a healthy dose of cheese and camp, respect for the source material, and plenty of Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa mean-mugging the camera and saying,
"Your soul is mine."
But does that mean Mortal Kombat stands up to time's brutal test your might bonus level? Actually, yeah, kinda. I'm Mitchell Saltzman, and this is my flashback review of 1995's Mortal Kombat.
Your brother's soul is mine. You will be next.
I started by giving Mortal Kombat a bunch of praise, so let's ease back for a second and be clear right out of the gate. Mortal Kombat is not a great movie. I'd hesitate to even really call it a good one. But the important distinction between it and other video game movies at the time was that Mortal Kombat fully and gleefully embraced its source material, while other video game movies seemed to do everything they could to distance themselves from their own.
Kumba!
Yeah. Most of the vitally important elements of Mortal Kombat are accounted for here. You've got a martial arts tournament with the fate of the world at stake, wild special moves, cheesy one-liners,
I don't think so.
and of course, violent fatalities. Or at least as violent as you could really get on a PG-13 rating back in 1995. But what about the vitally important parts of the movie? Like the plot, character development, or logical transitions from scene to scene? That's the stuff that Mortal Kombat struggles with. For as much as the film tries to stay true to its source material, the fact of the matter is that the source material wasn't very deep when it came to the lore of its characters. There were only 2 games to pull from at the time, and the story modes for these games essentially amounted to a few short paragraphs establishing each character's reason for joining the tournament and the hypothetical scenario of what might happen if they win. As a result, the core cast of heroes that we're supposed to be rooting for feel extremely one-dimensional. The disparate nature of their backgrounds and how they're all just suddenly pulled together at the start of the movie means there's no organic relationship building between them, even while the writing pretends otherwise. The last act basically hinges on the idea that the trio of Liu Kang, Johnny Cage, and Sonya Blade have grown to be this tight-knit group of friends who would risk everything to save one another, but there's absolutely no work done to build those relationships. The most memorable interactions between these characters throughout the movie aren't exactly the friendship-building type. Liu Kang tossing Johnny Cage's suitcase into the water after being confused as a baggage handler, Johnny telling Sonya to call his agent while she's trying to radio in for help, and Sonya telling the whole crew that she works alone, which is obviously a lie because at the beginning of the movie, she's part of a Special Forces task force sent to capture Kano. The combat of Mortal Kombat, however, is excellent. Clever choreography and impressive martial arts carry the action, with little winks and nods to the games feeling like extra icing on the cake. I do wish we got a little more Scorpion and Sub-Zero, considering they're actually the 2 most iconic characters in the Mortal Kombat franchise, but they at least make their limited screen time work here with 2 of the most memorable fights of the whole movie. It helps that most of the cast are legitimate badasses. Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa's Shang Tsung is absolutely iconic, and would go on to set the blueprint for the character in many of the games to follow. Everything from the way his words drip with venom, to his vicious facial expressions, right down to the way he fights, coalesces into a menacing, intimidating figure you can't wait to see finally get taken down. On the other side of that, Robin Shou is the perfect Liu Kang. He nails the look of the character from the games, has a very natural, down-to-earth kind of vibe, and is of course an incredibly skilled and talented martial artist, making the character believable as Earthrealm's greatest champion. And of course, I'd be remiss to not mention the soundtrack, or at the very least, Techno Syndrome, which is probably the most enduring element of the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. It rocks, perfectly setting the tone at the start. And once the music kicks in during the climactic final battle between Liu Kang and Shang Tsung, it feels like a genuine final boss fight. Mortal Kombat is not something I'd recommend to any average moviegoer who's going in expecting a quote-unquote good movie. The story is flimsy, character development is virtually non-existent, and while certain practical effects, like everything involving Goro, are certainly impressive, most of the film's usage of CG is jarring and doesn't hold up to a modern viewing. The counterpoint to all that is, man, whatever, these games are all about having fun, and so is the movie. For fans of the series or of video games in general, Mortal Kombat nails the most important parts of bringing a light-on-lore fighting game to the big screen. It's 2 hours of impressive martial arts, Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa's exceptional performance as Shang Tsung, and the head-bumping riff of Techno Syndrome.
Hey everybody, that is IGN's now official review for 1995's Mortal Kombat. Thanks for getting over here and flashing back with us. Joining me today, my fellow head of entertainment reviews, the man whose victories are always flawless, Scott Calora. Scott, how you doing, man?
I'm good. This was something, I have to say. This was something.
It sure was. I would like to think that at minimum, all of these flashback reviews are actually
They are something that exists, yes.
Joining us for something today, also, we've got the author of this review. He's IGN's resident fighting game guru. He's so good at them, it's like he's got 4 arms and a ponytail. Mitchell Saltzman. Mitchell, what's happening, dude?
What's up, everyone? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, thanks for being here. And thank you for, officially getting a proper score on this one. The previous review that was attached to Mortal Kombat for IGN was for a 2012 Blu-ray that, quote, doesn't perform a fatality. So the Blu-ray lost some points there for some reason, but we are happy to have you down on the record as the actual review for Mortal Kombat. It seems like IGN needs a proper review for Mortal Kombat the movie.
Well, you know what's sad is that I think if me when I first watched this movie read the review that I just wrote, he would probably be pretty mad at me. He'd probably be like sending nasty tweets on Twitter.
Yeah. What is your experience with this movie? Because when I asked you to do this, if you wanted to do the review it, you were like, oh yeah, no, I'm literally watching it right now anyway. It was something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think this movie really hit me like at a time when. It was kind of like the perfect time for this movie to come into my life because, like, I was in school, I was immature, and the things of just like action and blood and gore that was like the peak time for me to experience that stuff. So like this was a movie that we would be talking about on like schoolyards. We would be doing the whole "your soul is mine" thing like to our friends. Yeah. It was the right time for this to come into my life. So I have very fond memories of it. I liked it a lot. I would watch it whenever it came on TV, at whatever point I flipped on the channel, I would just pick it up wherever I jumped into it. And so I really did enjoy it as a kid. But I'm not looking at things with a very critical eye and just kind of letting myself get wrapped up even when things don't make a ton of logical sense.
You've set aside such childish pursuits. That is kind of what I was getting at. Is this is a movie that I feel like if it hits you at the right time, you're going to love it forever. But if you miss that window, just honestly don't even bother.
No.
But to that point, Scott, had you ever seen this movie?
Yeah,
before?
see, I disagree with that because I don't think I'd ever seen it in its entirety. I'd certainly seen bits and pieces of it here or there, but today was the first time I've ever watched it start to finish, I think, and I was really enjoying. And Clint and I had a meeting earlier today, so I had to stop the movie it had about 45 minutes left, I think. I had to stop to go to a bunch of meetings for work, and I was like, Clint, I love this movie. What's going on here? But then, like, I think, and you kind of pointed out, you were like, yeah, you might be at like sort of the best part of it, where it's like all the fights are happening right in a row, like the big like tournament type fights. And I think that's kind of where I was at, because then when I went back and finished it, it was like, oh, now we're going in kind of this different direction where now it's kind of like we got to take down the bad guy, and like the Mortal Kombat tournament stuff kind of was done at that point, and that was all the fun stuff, just the fight after fight after fight, that I was like, wow, I'm so into this. And it doesn't matter that some of the effects are not great, or that's some, as you point out in your review, Mitchell, so there's not really much character development or great acting or you know, great story or anything. It was just like the cool fighting and violence and stuff.
Yeah, I do think Mitchell, some of the acting's okay, actually. I think Cary-Hiroyuki Tagawa does a fantastic job. I think Robin Cho is a really good Liu Kang. I even think Johnny Cage did a pretty good job of establishing that character. Because remember, this is, you know, all we had to go off of was the games. There was no real character to these characters. You basically just had to build a character off of, like, you know, a couple of taunts and, you know, a couple paragraphs of intro and outro.
And two of the most famous ones were just palette swapped. Like,
and not really knowing the games either was interesting to watch it from my perspective, because it's like, oh yeah, like this is clearly a thing that, like, when he near the end when he's doing the move where he's kicking him in the chest continuously,
the bicycle kicks,
it was like, okay, that's definitely a move in the game, it has to be, you know, so
anything that defies physics that's got to be in the game. I do think, like, one of the highlights for me, one of the things that so full disclosure, watching this movie, I had completely forgotten everything but the middle third of this film. Like, it is about 40 minutes in when Liu Kang fights just some nameless dude, and that's like the first fight of the tournament, which, in my humble opinion, that's too long.
It is. It is a bit long. Yeah.
It is a while before it gets to that fight. And then, you know, when I do remember the Johnny Cage Goro fight, but and then when they start going after Shang Tsung at the end there, I'm like, there's still 30 minutes left in this movie. Like, I didn't really, what are we gonna do for this? And so there's like a whole chunk. Now, granted, you hear Mortal Kombat like before the production logo is even on screen. Like the production logo is still fading up when you've already got Mortal Kombat and the techno thing. So it's like there was no illusions about what this movie was and who it was for and why they were making it, right? Like from the frame one, you get the Mortal Kombat scream. But then it's a while before. There's some cool stuff in the opening. Like, I like Johnny Cage's whole, you know, this is where you fall thing. Like, that was a really great payoff. But yeah, just literally just the fighting stuff in the middle, because I found myself sitting there thinking, like, this was not. Am I streaming the right version of this movie? Like,
yeah, I mean, the Johnny Cage stuff in particular, I thought that was fairly clever. The way it was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're on a movie set. I fell for it. I have to admit, I fell for it. You know,
they got you.
I think some of the stuff, like, you know, Sonya hunting down, what is it? Who is it?
Kano.
That stuff. It was kind of like, oh, you know, yeah, let's kind of get moving. I agree with you there. But there's a certain style to things in that right off the bat, that opening fight. Where like the backgrounds are clearly composited in or something, like the skyline, I guess it is composited.
Oh, you're talking about the Shang Tsung killing Liu Kang's
killing his brother, yeah. And it's like, I was like, oh, okay, so we're in for some like low, kind of overtly stylish, if kind of maybe slightly low budget visuals, you know. And I was really into that, and the movie kind of, it really pays off on that throughout. Like, eventually we're in the. I don't know what the level is, I guess, where Johnny Cage is. Who is he fighting? Not Sub-Zero, the other guy.
Scorpion.
Yeah. But then they go through a portal and they wind up in like this.
They're in Netherrealm, basically. Yeah. It's basically their version of hell.
Right. And it's.
Yeah, Scott, if you just want to leave a little bit of silence, Mitchell will fill in.
I'll say the non-specific nouns, and then you can.
You don't have to be going line or anything like that. He'll jump on.
But it's not Earth, it's Earthrealm. It's not Hell, it's Netherrealm.
Okay, right, yeah. So, but that stuff, I mean, those are cool practical sets. Like the Netherrealm is like a cool practical set, and I was like, oh wow, you know, like they're like. they're really building some interesting worlds, even when the budget shows a little bit. I thought there was a lot of cool stuff that kind of just supported the fighting, the fight scenes, you know. And of course, like as we said, the CGI I think takes away from some of that, but that's a thing that a lot of movies from this era suffer from when you watch them nowadays, you know. So I think Reptile is really the only sort of inexcusable use of CG. Like that's one that they were clearly stretching too far. But like I love all the matte paintings. Like there's some of the temples early in the movie, even the stuff that's on Earth. Like is there's some cool matte paintings and they did some cool practical stuff. And I do want to touch on Paul Anderson, Paul W. He wasn't Paul W.S. Anderson until he started making Resident Evil. I noticed that. Yeah. How does Goro hold up for you? Like revisiting this movie and watching and the first time we see Goro, like it's the scene where Goro and Kano are talking. Like Kano's eating a giant, I guess a demon hog leg or something. Like there's no pigs in NetherRealm as far as I know, right? But anyway, who knows what he's eating? But point is, there's a conversation scene with Goro that I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we talked about Reptile. I feel like this movie hit at kind of like the peak of practical, puppetry and stuff. We had stuff like the Ninja Turtles movies. We had Dark Tower. And it is Dark Tower, right? Or what? No, what's?
Are you thinking about Dark Crystal?
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
So it was like the peak of that, and also the beginning of like CGI characters. And when you see Reptile, it's like, oh man, I don't think this is ready yet. But then you look at Goro, it's like, oh man, this is like mastery.
Just do that.
Yeah.
He's just like physically imposing, like all. It's just really cool seeing the way all the limbs work, and we watch like a behind the scene featurettes where you see like it's a combination of different disciplines. There's like a person in a suit that is making movements, and those control the hands, and then there's a person inside the suit that's handling the actual movement of the body. It's just a really really cool a really cool take on the character that feels ahead of its time.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, I was,
and all the robotics for the face and everything like that. Like it's very clearly a puppet, but it's a good puppet. And I think the only time that it stretches a little too far is when he starts fighting.
Yeah.
Because at that point, he's just moving so slow.
Yeah.
But like every other time when he's just talking to people, like he's this big, imposing, scary thing. Like they pull it off great. And the company that did it is called, it's Amalgamated Dynamics Incorporated, and there are tons of behind the scenes videos that you can find on YouTube to take a look. I love the one where like the front half of him is off and you just see this dude. And it's like the little alien in Men in Black when they pull the face off of it. It's just a dude like holding arms and like, doing all kinds of stuff. And you can really see like literally inside the Goro, like all the work that they did. But this company went on to win They won an Academy Award for Starship Troopers.
Oh, wow.
Later on, and they did Death Becomes Her too, which is a sneak up kind of masterclass in practical effects.
Right. Yeah. Like as you point out, the fight scenes are maybe where it doesn't pay off. They weren't quite there yet to do the fight stuff, I guess, and as a result, his fight, it's with Johnny, I think, right? His fight.
Yeah, he has two fights. He has one against that dude. I think his name's Art.
Yeah,
and then he has another one with Johnny.
His final fight with Johnny, right? Which felt like a bit anticlimactic. He like Johnny outsmarted him a little too easily.
Yeah. Well, the fact that he just kind of like tumbles off the cliff is kind of a lame way to go. I do think like one of the things that struck me about that fight scene though is like it was a risky choice to assume that a four-armed prince of the NetherRealm has balls in the same place and for that to be like such an important part of your plan, like that's risky. That is a bold move,
I was gonna say though that is my favorite aspect of the fight, and that was one of the things that we would talk about on the schoolyard, because not only is it just a really funny moment in the movie, but it's a callback to one of Johnny Cage's moves in the games. He has the split nut punch. That's like one of his most iconic moves.
Right.
So that they were able to incorporate that into the movie in such like an entertaining way, and also like we talked about how impressive the Goro animatronic or puppet was, like the facial expression when he gets hit in the nuts is so good.
I bought it.
Yeah, you buy it.
There's some great behind the scenes of them rehearsing that too. It's like a temp version of him going like, "Oh," it's great. It's so good. Do you think this is a movie that holds up forever and always?
I mean,
for being what it is, or do you think this is a movie that you really had to catch at the right time?
I think you kind of had to catch it at the right time. I mean, I don't know if I would go out and recommend this over the more recent Mortal Kombat movie that came out, I think in 2020 or 2021. It's fun. It's silly. It definitely embodies the spirit of Mortal Kombat, but I think when you look at things with any kind of critical eye in terms of looking at the story, looking at the characters and all that stuff, it kind of falls apart a little bit. We were talking about how the best part of the movie is like the fights, but what's interesting is that there's no transition. You're just on the beach. You're watching Liu Kang, finish up a fight, and then all of a sudden we're in a completely new area with Johnny Cage fighting against Scorpion. There's no context.
Yeah.
There's no announcement of the next fight being Johnny Cage versus Scorpion. It's just
I don't feel like I have to remind you of this, Mitchell. That's how the game works.
That is how the game works. Again, they have a adherence to the lore, the source material.
Okay.
But as a movie, it kind of is a little jarring.
Yeah, I was like, oh, did I miss something? And then especially that ending where all of a sudden when the Emperor shows up, I was like, did something get cut? Like either before he showed up or after he showed up? Like it was. I mean, I guess they're setting up the sequel. They were very optimistic about the film's potential, I guess, to get a sequel. I don't know, but
I don't know, and I think that's probably why. I think that's I mean, we're still making them. I think that's probably why that middle third of the movie is the only memorable part for me, because it's like I was like, okay, now this is Mortal Kombat. We're just fight, and like all the other stuff feels kind of made up and unnecessary, and like that's the stuff. It's tricky because like that's the stuff that feels like it is. We're doing this because we have to, because this is a movie, but also like I don't care about that. Like get to the stuff that I'm here for. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of a no-win situation in some respects, because it's like you got to do that because it's a movie and it needs to be 90 minutes long, but also like really don't care about it, get to the good stuff. And so it's because I had the same issue with the more recent Mortal Kombat as well, where I'm just like, nope, don't care about any of this. Where's the cool fighting, please?
It's like the Godzilla movies, right? It's like, oh, I guess we have to have human characters because we can't just have giant monsters fighting for 2 hours, but you kind of just want the fighting for 2 hours.
Giant monsters fighting for 2 hours.
So,
yeah. No, it's...
Mm-hmm. Can you guys answer one nerdy question for me? Why is the soul only being sucked out of certain guys at the end of fights? It's like, every time someone lost a fight, shouldn't their soul have been sucked out?
Well, what's funny is that there's that fight between Liu Kang and Katana that just kind of ends because they say, like, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Katana, come back here. What are you doing?
I'm disappointed in you. Yeah.
I think one of the other flaws about the movie is that they're never really explicit about the rules of Mortal Kombat, despite the fact that Shang Tsung literally says at one point, the rules are clear. And I'm like, are they? Are they though?
They were made clear off screen to everybody involved, except for us.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Just fine. And I do like that Raiden has sort of like part of his role is like a legal counsel for the whole situation, because Raiden keeps running in and be like, wait a second.
That's what's funny is that little noise that you make
where he like actually's like Shang Tsung. So
that little noise that you made, is actually very close to the noise that Raiden makes when he does his electric fly.
He's funny though. It's Christopher Lambert, right? Is that this?
Yeah.
Lambert.
Sorry. Yeah. He's funny.
Very interesting and unexpected take on the character, but I do kind of like it. I like his whisper talks.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with whisper talks in general. That's kind of a rule I have. There's two rules. That and if there is a lot of glass shattering in the trailer for a movie, it's going to be a bad movie. That is going to do it for us. Mitchell, again, man, thank you for taking on this ancient tradition of reviewing old movies for us here at IGN. This was fun, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching. We'll be back with more Flashback reviews here pretty soon, so be sure to subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch. We'll see you next time.